Stick with it.
Stick with it, Mike.
Are you gonna stick with it forever?
You're not being treated, but you have to stick with it.
You pick your team when you're little and you stick with it for the rest of your life, no matter what.
Is that true? You're going to stick with it?
Why don't you stick with it? Stick with it.
As long as I do that, I'm gonna stick with it, try to make some sense out of it.
Then stick with it.
But, well, I think you should, stick with it, Reverend.
Stick with it, Trix.
You stick with it, we're gonna let you dress out for the last game.
After everything you did to find the right balance between home and work, I thought that you would stick with it. At least for the holidays.
But you have to stick with it.
Why not stick with it?
Well, I think you should stick with it. Stick with it.
Stick with it.
Well, unlike you, those criminals take an oath and they stick with it.
Stick with it.
You're the one who said stick with it, kid.
You stick with it. Huh.
We're going to stick with it.
No, I'll stick with it.
If you're not going to stick with it, get out now.
Stick with it.
I can't stick with it.
When the Army makes the rules, they stick with it.
Well, stick with it. So we should stick with it.
You just gotta stick with it and be yourself.
Stick with it, son.
Man with the confidence to measure once and stick with it, regardless.
If we don't like it, we won't stick with it.
But you gotta stick with it, man.